When my boyfriend Tyler said he wanted to take a break from our relationship, I panicked and told him I was pregnant. The words just flew out of my mouth even though I wasn't actually pregnant at all. But it worked. He immediately forgot about breaking up and started talking about our future together, until everything fell apart when his family got involved and the truth came out. I'm Madison, by the way. I'm 26 and work at this little boutique downtown, selling overpriced clothes to rich women. Tyler and I had been together for 2 years and living together for 8 months. He's an IT guy who makes good money and actually treats me well, which is more than I can say for my ex-boyfriends. I thought we had something real, but apparently I was wrong about that. I need to tell you the whole story because I'm going completely insane here. Tyler had been acting weird for weeks, and last Tuesday he dropped the bomb about needing space because we weren't compatible long-term. I completely lost it, crying and begging him not to leave. But he just sat there like he'd already made up his mind. That's when I panicked and lied about being pregnant. Tyler's face went completely white, and he sat back down like someone had punched him in the stomach. He asked if I was serious, and I nodded, making myself cry harder. I told him I'd found out the day before, and was terrified to tell him because of everything going on between us. Tyler immediately put his arms around me and said this changed everything. The whole breakup conversation just evaporated. He started talking about responsibility and how we'd figure it out together. Just like that, he wasn't going anywhere anymore. But here's the thing that makes me sound like a complete psycho. I wasn't actually pregnant. Not even a little bit. I just said it because I was desperate and couldn't handle losing him. I know how that sounds. Trust me, I know. But I love Tyler more than I've ever loved anyone. And the thought of him walking out of my life made me feel like I was dying inside. I'd rather lie than lose him. The next morning, Tyler was like a completely different person. He made me breakfast and kept asking if I was feeling okay. He even left work early to buy prenatal vitamins and pregnancy books. Seeing him get excited about our fake baby made me feel guilty, but also relieved that my plan was working. For the next 2 weeks, everything was absolutely perfect between us. Tyler was being so sweet and attentive. He'd text me every hour, asking how I was feeling and if I needed anything. We started looking at bigger apartments online and talking about baby names. I almost started believing my own lie. I researched everything about early pregnancy symptoms online so I could fake them convincingly. Morning sickness, fatigue, food aversions, I had it all memorized. Tyler bought it completely because he trusted me and had no reason to think I'd lie about something so huge. Everything was going perfectly until my coworker Ashley ruined everything. I work at this little boutique downtown, and Ashley has always been jealous of my relationship with Tyler. She's been single for like 2 years and constantly makes snide comments about how lucky I am. So when I told everyone at work about my pregnancy, Ashley got this weird look on her face. She started asking me all these personal questions about my symptoms and when I was due. I could tell she was being nosy, but I figured she was just curious. But then Ashley did something that almost destroyed everything. She called Tyler's office pretending to be planning a surprise baby shower for me. She told his assistant she needed to confirm some details about my pregnancy timeline. Tyler's assistant mentioned it to Tyler, who got confused because the dates Ashley was asking about didn't match what I'd told him. When Tyler came home that night, he asked me about Ashley's call. I had to think fast and told him Ashley was just being overly helpful and probably got confused about the details. Tyler seemed to buy it, but I could see him starting to pay more attention to the little things I said about the pregnancy. Ashley also started making these comments at work about how I didn't look pregnant yet, and how some women show really early. She'd say stuff like how her sister knew she was pregnant because her boobs got huge right away. Then she'd look at me pointedly and ask if I'd noticed any changes like that. I wanted to tell Ashley to mind her own business, but I couldn't be too defensive without raising more suspicions. So I just smiled and said every pregnancy was different. But inside I was furious that this jealous cow was trying to sabotage my relationship. The worst part was when Ashley offered to throw me a baby shower at work. She said she'd handle all the planning and just needed me to give her a list of what I wanted. I knew she was trying to trap me somehow, but I couldn't say no without looking ungrateful. Ashley kept pushing for details about my doctor appointments and when I'd have my first ultrasound. She said she wanted to plan the shower for after I had the photos to show everyone. I kept making excuses about why I didn't have any pictures yet, but Ashley wouldn't drop it. Then Ashley suggested we should all chip in to buy me a really nice gift and asked if Tyler had any preferences. She said she might call him to coordinate so they didn't duplicate anything he was already planning to buy. I panicked and told her Tyler was really busy with work and preferred not to be bothered with party planning. But I could tell Ashley was getting more suspicious. She'd watch me carefully when I complained about morning sickness and made comments about how lucky I was to have such mild symptoms. One day, she even brought me ginger tea, saying it helped her sister with nausea, then watched to see if I actually drank it. The final straw was when Ashley suggested we should double date sometime because she wanted Tyler to meet this guy she'd started seeing. She said it would be fun to go out before I got too pregnant to enjoy restaurants and bars. When I made excuses about being too tired, Ashley got this knowing look like she'd figured something out. I started avoiding Ashley at work as much as possible, but she'd already planted enough doubt in Tyler's mind that he was paying closer attention to everything I said and did. It was like having a spy in my own workplace trying to expose my lies. But then Tyler dropped another bomb on me. He said his mum Linda wanted to meet me because he'd already told her about the baby. You remember I told you his mum is a nurse practitioner at the hospital? I was absolutely terrified because nurses know everything about pregnancy, and I knew she'd see right through my act. I tried to get out of meeting her, but Tyler was so excited about introducing us. He said Linda was thrilled about becoming a grandmother and wanted to give me advice about the first trimester. That was exactly what I was afraid of. We went to lunch with Linda last Friday, and it was a disaster from the start. She seemed nice enough, but immediately started firing medical questions at me. What was my due date? Which doctor was I seeing? Had I started taking folic acid? What were my symptoms like? I tried to answer everything, but I could tell she was getting confused by my responses. When Linda asked which clinic I was going to, I panicked and said the Women's Health Centre on 5th Street. She said she knew that place and asked who my doctor was. My mind went completely blank, so I just said Dr. Johnson. Linda frowned and said she didn't think there was a Dr. Johnson at that clinic. Tyler kept looking back and forth between us like he could sense something was wrong. I tried to play it off by saying there were so many doctors in the city, but I could see Linda wasn't buying any of my story. She had this suspicious look on her face the whole rest of lunch. After we left the restaurant, Tyler was really quiet in the car. When we got home, he asked if I was sure I had all my medical details right because his mum seemed confused. I told him Linda was probably just testing me because she didn't know me yet, but I could tell Tyler was starting to have doubts. That weekend, Tyler's whole attitude changed. He stopped texting me constantly and didn't bring up baby stuff as much. When I complained about pregnancy symptoms, he'd just nod and say that's rough instead of babying me like before. I knew he was getting suspicious, but I didn't know how to fix it without making things worse. Monday morning, Tyler left for work without kissing me goodbye, which he never did. When I asked if everything was okay, he just said he was tired and had a long day ahead. But I could see him pulling away from me again, just like before I told him about the fake pregnancy. Tuesday night I was making dinner when Tyler came home with his sister Jessica. You know, the one who had a baby last year. Tyler never brought Jessica over without telling me first, so I knew something was up. Jessica congratulated me on the pregnancy and started asking all the same questions Tyler's mum had asked. When I found out how I was feeling, whether I'd been to the doctor yet, she seemed genuinely excited, but I could tell she was also studying my answers carefully. When Jessica asked if I'd had my first ultrasound yet, I said it was scheduled for the following week. She got all excited and said Tyler should definitely come with me because it's such a special moment seeing your baby for the first time. Tyler immediately said he wanted to be there, which made my stomach drop because there was no ultrasound appointment and no baby to see. After Jessica left, Tyler sat me down and said he wanted to come to my doctor's appointment. I quickly said they weren't allowing partners for the first few visits because of COVID protocols. Tyler looked confused and said Jessica had told him her husband came to all her appointments last year. I said different clinics had different rules, but I could see he wasn't really buying it. Then Tyler asked me directly if I was actually pregnant. I started crying and asked how he could even question that. But I knew my time was running out. Tyler backed off, but the damage was done. He didn't believe me anymore. The next day, while Tyler was at work, my best friend Sarah came over because I'd been acting weird and she was worried about me. I was so stressed and panicked that I ended up telling her everything. About Tyler wanting to break up, about me lying about being pregnant, about his family getting suspicious. Sarah completely freaked out when I told her what I'd done. She said I was insane and needed to tell Tyler the truth immediately before things got even worse. I begged her to help me figure out a way to keep the lie going, but she said there was no way out except confessing. Sarah kept saying Tyler was going to find out eventually, and when he did, it would be 10 times worse than if I told him myself. But I couldn't do it. I loved Tyler too much to risk losing him by admitting I'd been lying for almost a month. That weekend, Tyler said we needed to go see a real doctor because he'd made an appointment with Dr. Martinez for Monday. His mom had recommended her, and he wasn't taking no for an answer. I tried everything to get out of it. Said I was feeling sick, wanted to wait, didn't trust new doctors. But Tyler was completely determined. He said if I was carrying his baby, he needed to know everything was okay and we were definitely going to that appointment. I could see in his eyes that this was some kind of test. If I refused to go, he'd know for sure I was lying. Sunday night I called my mom crying and told her everything. The breakup threat, the pregnancy lie, the doctor's appointment I couldn't avoid. Mom was shocked and asked what I'd gotten myself into. When I said I didn't know what to do because Tyler would find out the truth and never speak to me again, Mom said maybe I should have thought about that before lying about having his baby. I begged Mom to help me figure out a way to get out of the mess I'd created, but she said there was no way out. I was going to have to face the consequences of my actions. When I said I loved Tyler too much to lose him, Mom replied that I shouldn't have lied to him in the first place. Then she hung up on me. Even my own mother thought I was hopeless. I spent that whole night lying awake trying to think of a way to avoid the doctor's appointment, but there was nothing I could do. Tyler was determined to find out the truth. Monday morning, Tyler and I drove to Dr. Martinez's office and I was shaking the entire way there. Tyler kept asking if I was nervous, and I said I just wanted everything to be okay with the baby. But really I was terrified that my whole world was about to come crashing down. We checked in and sat in the waiting room, surrounded by actually pregnant women reading parenting magazines and rubbing their bellies. I felt like such a fraud sitting there knowing I was about to be exposed as a complete liar. When they called my name, I followed the nurse to an exam room on legs that felt like jelly. Dr. Martinez came in a few minutes later and seemed really nice. She said Tyler's mum had spoken highly of us and she was excited to check on our baby. Dr. Martinez had me lie down on the exam table and put gel on my stomach for the ultrasound. As she moved the wand around, I stared at the monitor showing nothing but black and grey shapes. No baby, no heartbeat. Nothing that would indicate any kind of pregnancy. She kept checking different angles and looking confused. Finally, she said she wasn't seeing any signs of pregnancy and asked if I was sure about my last period date. Tyler was staring at the screen asking what that meant, and Dr. Martinez gently explained that I wasn't pregnant. When Tyler mentioned that I'd taken a positive pregnancy test, Dr. Martinez said sometimes tests could give false results, but it was rare. She decided to do a blood test to be absolutely sure and said the results would be ready in an hour. Tyler and I sat in the lobby waiting for the blood test results and he wouldn't even look at me. I could see him processing everything that had happened over the past few weeks. His mom's suspicions, Jessica's questions, my evasive answers about doctors and appointments. When Dr. Martinez called us back with the results, she confirmed what we already knew. The blood test showed I definitely wasn't pregnant, and my hormone levels were completely normal. Tyler put his head in his hands like he couldn't believe what was happening. Dr. Martinez looked at me seriously and asked if I'd faked the pregnancy test. The room went completely silent, and I could feel both of them staring at me. I tried to act confused and asked why I would do such a thing, but we all knew the truth. Tyler looked up at me with this expression of complete betrayal and asked if I'd really faked being pregnant this whole time. I started crying and said I could explain, but Tyler just kept saying he couldn't believe I'd been lying to him for a month about something so important. When I told him I did it because I loved him and he was going to leave me, Tyler said that wasn't love, it was manipulation. Dr. Martinez quietly left us alone to talk, but there really wasn't anything left to say. Tyler told me we were over, and he couldn't be with someone who would lie about carrying his child. Tyler's mom, Linda, was waiting in the lobby because she'd wanted to congratulate us after the appointment. When she saw Tyler's devastated face, she immediately knew what had happened. Tyler confirmed that I'd faked the whole pregnancy, and Linda looked at me with complete disgust. She said she'd known something was wrong with my story from the very beginning but hadn't wanted to hurt Tyler by pushing too hard. Linda had been a nurse for 25 years and had seen women fake pregnancies before, usually to trap men or get attention. She said I'd been manipulating her son and he deserved so much better. They left me sitting in that lobby completely alone. I had to call an Uber to get home because I didn't have anyone else who would come pick me up. When I got back to my apartment, I called Sarah crying and told her Tyler had found out everything. Sarah said she was sorry it had happened, but I had to have known it would end this way. When I said I thought I could make it work somehow, she asked what I'd expected to happen when I lied about being pregnant. I didn't have an answer for that. Over the next few days, I tried everything to get Tyler back. I texted him constantly apologizing and begging for another chance. I called his office, but his assistant said he was unavailable. I even drove to his apartment building and waited for him to come home from work. When Tyler saw me in the parking lot, he looked more angry than I'd ever seen him. He asked what I was doing there, and I said I wanted to explain and work through everything. But Tyler said there was nothing to work through. I'd lied to his face every single day for a month about the most important thing two people could share. Tyler told me what I'd done wasn't love, it was psychological manipulation, and he needed me to leave him alone completely. No more calls, texts, or showing up at his apartment. Then he walked into his building without looking back at me. I sat in my car crying for hours, but eventually I had to accept that Tyler was never going to forgive me. Over the next couple weeks I kept trying different ways to contact him, but nothing worked. He'd blocked my number and told building security not to let me in. Then Sarah called with news that absolutely destroyed me. She'd seen Tyler at a restaurant downtown with another woman. They were holding hands and looked like they were on a date. It had only been 3 weeks since our breakup, and Tyler was already seeing someone else. I got drunk that night and left Tyler a voicemail even though I knew he'd blocked my number. I told him I knew he was with someone new, but he needed to remember that what we had was real. I said I'd only lied because I loved him so much and begged him to call me back. He never did. A few days later, my mum came over to check on me because I'd been calling in sick to work and basically hadn't left my apartment in a week. She said I needed to get myself together and move on with my life. When I told Mum I'd lost the love of my life because of one mistake, she said it wasn't one mistake. I'd lied about being pregnant for an entire month, which was a pattern of deception, not a simple error in judgment. Then Mum dropped her own bomb on me. She said she and Dad were getting divorced because she couldn't trust him anymore. Dad had been lying to her about money for years, starting with small lies that grew bigger and bigger over time. By the time Mum found out the truth, their whole marriage was built on deception. Mum looked me straight in the eye and said that's exactly what I'd done to Tyler. I'd built our relationship on a lie about the most important thing two people could share, having a child together. When I said I'd only done it because I loved him, Mum replied that love doesn't justify lying. Real love is supposed to be built on trust and honesty. I asked if she was saying I was as bad as Dad, and Mum said I needed to learn from this experience before I hurt someone else the same way. She said she was moving in with my Aunt Carol the following week because she needed space to figure out her life, just like Tyler had needed space from me. After Mom left, I sat alone in my apartment, thinking about everything that had happened. I'd lost Tyler, disappointed my family, and destroyed the best relationship I'd ever had by lying about something I should never have lied about. For the first time since everything happened, I started to really think about what I'd done. Not just the lying about being pregnant, but the whole pattern of behavior that led me to that point. The desperation, the manipulation, the complete disregard for Tyler's feelings and autonomy. But it's too late now. Tyler is happy with someone else. Someone who probably never felt the need to fake a pregnancy to keep him around. Someone who understood that real love means letting the other person choose to be with you freely, not trapping them with lies.